Good evening and welcome to the April 12th, 2021 meeting of the Planning Commission of Yukon, Oklahoma. We will begin the meeting with the invocation and flag salute. Please rise.
Father, we love you. Thank you for your presence here. We thank you for all the people here in Yukon, for the citizens, for the leaders, our teachers, students. We pray your mercy and blessing on us all. We ask you to give us wisdom tonight, and we give you the glory, honor, and praise for everything. In your name, amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Chairman Baker,
Here.
Vice Chairman Wright,
Here.
Commissioner Enmark,
Here.
Commissioner Gerba,
Here.
Commissioner Geis.
Here.
You all have copies of the minutes of the March 8th, 2021 meeting. Are there any questions or corrections? Roll call.
Chairman Baker,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Wright,
Yes.
Commissioner Enmark,
Yes.
Commissioner Gerba,
Yes.
Commissioner Geis.
Yes.
Item 3 is to hear a request by Tract for Williams Family Investments LLC for a rezone from Agriculture District to I-2 Heavy Industry located on the north side of State Highway 66 east of Cimarron Road, Canadian County, Yukon, Oklahoma. Someone here to speak to this motion? Give us your name and address, please.
Good evening, Jason Spencer with Tract and Associates, 300 Point Parkway Boulevard, Yukon. Here on behalf of the applicant, Williams Family Investments. So in front of you tonight is an application to rezone the 57-acre tract, as you mentioned, north side of US 66, east of Cimarron Road, from current zoning of agricultural to I-2 heavy industrial zoning. The Yukon Future Land Use Plan identifies this property as employment land. The plan describes employment land as for possible future employers and industrial operations, and it states that this designation should be limited to commercial or industrial uses and should seek to limit any residential development within it. I think it's important to note that a majority of the land that this plan shows set aside for industrial use is in the vicinity of the subject property, basically on the north side of US 66, between Richland Road and Gregory Road. In addition to the future land use plan, recommending this for industrial, there's some unique aspects of the property that support an industrial use on this, and those would include its location next to US 66. You've also got close proximity to the railroad on the north, your close proximity to I-40 and Clarence C. Page Airport. All of those we think lends to identifying this as an industrial property. Of note, the area to the south, which is directly across US 66, it's in Oklahoma City, is zoned I-2, and it's currently used for industrial purposes. And some of the companies that are located over there include Weatherford International Drilling, there's JW Power Company, Utility Trucking, amongst some others that are over there as well. So based on the land use designation, some of the specifics about the property that I mentioned, its proximity to surrounding transportation systems and the other industrial uses in the area, we think the application makes sense. Staff has recommended approval, and we would ask for you to recommend approval and be happy to answer any questions.
Where is this located exactly in respect to the current land mining operation that's next to what we all call Henry's Guns?
The current land mining operation is to the south and west. I think you're basically off of, I think you're another mile to the west and a mile to the south.
Mile to the west
right.
and south, okay.
Yes.
So we're talking about the rezoning. Any questions from the commissioners?
Actually, I was going to say, were you not asking about the Henry's Guns? It's to the east of this property, or is it to the west?
Well, Henry's Guns would be
would be to the east.
To the east.
Yeah, so what
guys
he's
mine
describing is west of Richland Road before Gregory.
Right.
And where they're mining today would be east of Henry's Gunner before the creek or before Richland, east of that.
So that's a separate mining project than what's
Mhm.
going on to the west and closer to I-40 and then on the south side of I-40.
Is there any long-term plan for that property as far as specific uses in mind?
So we've done a concept and looked at, attracting some typical industrial users that are in there. At this point, kind of looking long-term just to get the site zoned and get it more of a pad-ready site and looking for some users there. Obviously, there's automotive and oil and gas users in the area that may be interested in the site.
Why is the property up for lease right now?
I'm not aware of that.
Give us your name and address, please.
Dale Dorsey, 117 Yukon Avenue. The front 10 acres is for lease right now. The back half is what's going to be the mine itself. The mining permit's got to be separate from any kind of lease property we do. So we're going to lease the front half, and then the back half will be the mining permit. Once the mine is done, then we'll go in and develop it for use.
So the drawing that we have on the very back, the 4 new buildings shown on there are on the leased property? Yeah, you've got, yeah, you almost got it.
So those would be on the
Yeah, so those front 3 along 66, those are on the current lease property, where it says new building on the back behind the oil well. That'll be future development.
Okay. But the land mining, on this picture, the land mining will start north of the well?
North of the well.
Okay.
Are the highway cuts in place today?
Yes, there's currently a driveway going into the property that's got access from 66.
And is that sufficient for the mining operation and all of that access, or are you going to be requesting additional access from the highway? to get
We'll
equipment?
most likely have to improve that, potentially make it a little bit wider, but is one access
Yeah,
enough for?
that one entrance on the east side,
Okay.
will actually be part of the mine. It'll be a 100-foot wide easement that
Okay.
goes back to the mine itself. But yeah, that will be the entrance we're using.
And that'll be sufficient, you won't have to have a second cut for that? That'll
no.
Okay.
Any input from staff? Other than what's in the notes?
I've just got one quick question. It doesn't look like there's any, it looks like there's a small pond on it looks like the west side of the property. Are there any other, let's say, it doesn't look like there's any streams or anything else running through that would be affected by the mining?
No, you've got everything basically trying to drain both to the east and west from the ridge. It's in the center. Once it crosses the railroad to the north, then you're in floodplain at that point.
And in this case, those detention areas, those are proposed, correct?
Yes.
On the same drawing, it's got a Oklahoma City water extension, requires City of Oklahoma City approval. Is that something that's going to be requested in the future or something that's already been requested?
It'd be something we would request in the future as development proceeds on the site, and see if we can't work out an agreement with them to serve the site. If not, we'd have to use well and most likely a fire tank.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you. Anyone from the audience wish to speak? We're on the zoning right now. We're not on the use, we're on the zoning.
My name is Regina Fitzgerald, and I live at 4101 North Richland Road, which is directly behind this property. So I'm very interested in hearing what they're talking about in mining and what type of effect that might have on our property. We have a well, we have horses, and that's pretty much our livelihood. So we're very interested in what kind of mining that entails, and how that could affect our property value.
When you say behind, to the north?
We're on Richland Road, and it's just directly we're directly behind we're right next to the railroad.
Oh, okay. You're to the
So north of the railroad tracks, behind that property?
Yeah,
Okay,
and we have 30 acres there, so,
okay. So you would run along behind that?
yeah, it's
From
all
Richland
along,
Road
all
back?
along, and that's
Okay.
where there's some utility poles there, and we're, anyway,
Okay.
so, that's what would be very interested in hearing, whenever it's appropriate.
Okay. That comes more into the conditional use permit, is that correct? Okay. Anyone else want to speak to the zoning of, the rezoning from agriculture to industry?
My name is Jack McCurdy. I live at 14800 Northwest 36th or West Highway 66, depends on who's looking for the address. I'm one of the houses on the south side of 66. There's a row of houses along there that are directly across from the subject property that we're here about tonight. I have a number of issues with it. Some of them go to the conditional use permit, some of them go to the rezoning. I'll just lay them all out for this, and then if you want further input during the conditional use permit, I'll be happy to. The first one I have is the rezoning to industrial is going to, all you have to do is drive a mile west of this property on the south side of the road, and you see an oil field junkyard. That's what they've leased it to down on their property to the west. That whole corner is just, it looks like every oil company in Oklahoma dumped their junk down there on that corner. So that's what's going to look like across the street from all of us that have houses built right there. That's the first problem I have with the rezoning it to industrial. The second would be the traffic. The cutouts, I believe it was Mr. Enmark who talked about the cutouts. The cutouts are not large enough for tractor trailers. The cutouts are for cars to turn around. And by the State Highway 66 designation of how wide they have to be, they're not wide enough for tractor trailers. There's a commercial business to the west of me, and right out by the interstate is A&A Trucking or A&A Transport. All you got to do is watch them turn around in those cutouts every day. They have to go over on the shoulder, take up to 2 lanes of one side, pull through the cutout, take up to 2 lanes of the other side, go onto the shoulder, and then get back on 66. All you got to do is come look at my house out in front. The shoulder is just gone. Those big trucks driving over that shoulder have dropped it that far below, 6 inches below the grade of Highway 66 by them making those wide turns. And then when they come back up on the asphalt, they break off big chunks of it. And there's no way that you're going to increase with a mining operation, increase the number of trucks without, and they also tear the roadsides down that are sitting next to the cutouts. As they make that corner, some of them don't make it too well, and they knock the signs down. The third aspect of it is the mine. I mean, we have houses across from there. We're going to be covered with dirt. I mean, you don't have to be a genius to figure out in Oklahoma that the wind's going to blow, and when it blows from the north, it's going to blow all that dirt from that mining operation into all the houses that we all live in over there across the road. All you got to do is, when it used to, not anymore because somebody, well, it was purchased, you could see people disking the ground on the on the south side of I-40 directly south of us. When they were out farming that or working the ground, the dirt would blow that far, all the way from I-40 to 66. And so a mining operation is going to be the same thing. It's just going to have, our houses are going to be covered with dirt every time the wind blows out of the north. And the final thing is the traffic. You're going to, I don't know what the traffic count is going to increase, but if they're running trucks, as many trucks out of there as they run out of their mining operation to the west of there, it's just going to be a traffic nightmare there. And again, because of the cutouts, it's just going to be so much more dangerous because they have to take up 6 lanes to make a corner there. There's 3 cutouts in front of this piece of property, and they're all the same size. The larger cutout is all the way down where A&A transport comes out, and it's a huge, big turnaround. That's where they come in and out. I think it has a turning lane, but that's not going to access this property. They're going to access this property just to the east of there, where the current entrance to this property is, and that turnaround or that cutout is not big enough to handle the amount of traffic and the size of the traffic that they intend to run in and out of here. Thank you.
Any other input?
Yeah, Roy Middleton, 14944 West Highway 66. Pretty well did what Jack is speaking about there. Mostly it is a safety concern, adding that much more traffic on that particular site. We were talking about entry and exit that is just over the hill line, where they're not going to see westbound or eastbound traffic coming from the west. As you pull out there, the way AAA or AA trucking has run into that same problem there. So it's numerous times where those guys are actually stopping traffic, tire squealing, that type of deal, with that kind of traffic just over that hill rise. There is not a proper turnaround for that kind of traffic for trucks that large, not to mention the other concerns of having a mine directly across the road from the front porch. That does create problems. But it's going to be a big safety hazard if this goes in and is not properly addressed as far as where you can go in and out of that property with that size truck, and having the proper turn lanes in the media for those trucks to get out of traffic while they're waiting for an avenue to pull into that property. But that's the one thing that I was concerned about. Thank you.
And where do you live from Judge McCurdy's house?
I'll be 2 houses to the west.
There's a new house going up next door to me, so it's 3 houses.
All right, anyone else? Thank you. Anything from the applicant? Anything from staff?
I can respond to a few of the comments. First off, the subject property is directly to the north of the existing industrial. So I think that their houses are just, I mean, they're not far to the east, but they're just a little bit to the east of that, but we're directly north of the existing industrial development that's on the south side of 66. And I know there were questions on the actual mining of the dirt and its effect on the subject property. I know that that's on the next application. However, I mean, we can kind of talk about the fact that what we've got on the property is basically a large ridge or a hill. If you think about it, almost like a roof that's steeped up. So what we can do is flatten that down while still maintaining the existing drainage patterns. We're not digging a hole. It's not going to affect, you know, groundwater, the floodplain, other things like that. And so at the end, the site is still, it's not a hole in the ground. We wouldn't be able to build industrial buildings down in there. We're not creating flooding problems on ourselves. As part of the mining operation, we have to permit with not only the city, ODEQ, but also the State Department of Mines. And so there's a lot of be a lot of oversight on that. As far as dust, you know, it's going to be on the owner's operator to basically maintain the site so that we're not having dust leave the site when it rains. We're not having soil leave the site, those things. And so there'll be erosion control measures that'll have to be put in. They'll be inspected and monitored to make sure they're working. If they're not working, then the different entities have the ability to stop the operations on the site till those items are fixed. Specifically the dust, you know, the main strategy against dust is not opening up the entire property all at once. It's being mined. They'll mine different layers, different stages, and then using, you know, having water trucks on site and using those while they're out there, you know, doing those operations. No different than if we were going out there to grade the site to build an industrial, you know, use today. Same requirements will have to apply. However, we're basically going above and beyond and asking for the ability to sell this dirt that's coming off of the site. But it's really not much different than any other development that would go in. It's also fairly temporary in nature, but it's hard to determine how long that will go on because it's based on the need for the dirt.
So I mean, it's, the hill, I mean, surely some engineer has looked at how many cubic yards of dirt there is and how many truckloads it is and how long that'll take. There's no timetable for when this will be done?
Well, no, we haven't gotten into that deep into it yet, and it's usually on a site like this based on the need for the soil. They don't just necessarily mine it, don't have it all stockpiled or put it on trucks to take it unless it has a place to go. So it's you know, as needed. There's a lot of development and other things going on right now, so I'd say that you'd probably, you know, weed through it fairly quickly, but it's hard to you know, determine. As far as the traffic goes, I mean, you've got direct frontage onto a 4-lane state highway. The existing driveways are allowed by ODOT and have been looked at ODOT for site distance. And that's why we're not requesting to vary that from where that is. And I mean, we think it may be tight with the turnarounds on the trucks, and I know that we see that in a lot in industrial areas, but the trucks should be able to make left-hand turns in and left-hand turns out of the property if needed. Now, they won't be able to make a U-turn there at the median, but that's not going to be necessary. They would pull onto the site, load up, come back out, and leave the property.
Okay. Any other questions from the commissioners? All right, can I have someone read the draft motion?
Yep. In the case of the rezoning application by Craft and Toll on behalf of Williams Family Investments LLC, we have read the staff report and received testimony at the public hearing. We find ourselves in agreement with the staff findings cited in the staff report. I move that this item be recommended for approval to the City Council.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. Roll call?
Chairman Baker,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Wright,
No.
Commissioner Enmark,
No.
Commissioner Gerba,
No.
Commissioner Geis.
No.
Mitchell, what's your, move on to the conditional use permit? Looking the wrong way.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Since we have a no vote on the rezoning, we will not hear the conditional use permit or the preliminary plat. Is that correct?
That's correct.
All right. New business? Study sessions?
We are working on coming up with a study session for our zoning and update of our subdivision. We're working on a schedule right now. We've been working with Johnson Associates, so hopefully we'll have a schedule and we'll start that process. So,
Okay. Open discussion for the commissioners? No? All right. Our next meeting will be May 10th, 2021. This meeting is adjourned.